This young man's name is Baron, the brave prince of the Secretia Empire. In the final battle, Baron chose to sacrifice himself to protect his country from disaster. However, instead of ending his life, he was reborn 10 years ago, becoming a useless prince of the enemy empire. Aware of his new mission, he decided to overthrow the unjust regime and restore freedom to the people. With new strength and knowledge from his previous life, Baron began his arduous journey against the Kairos Empire. The story begins with a scene of ruins, bodies strewn across the ground like hell, yes, if hell truly existed. Baron panted heavily, his entire face covered in blood. Baron's eyes widened in horror. Then this would be the place. At this moment, one of Baron's guards was using his body to shield him from arrows. That was Kiri. Fresh blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Kiri uttered each word with difficulty. "Your Majesty, Baron?" He had no strength left and collapsed onto Baron's shoulder. Baron called out in panic, "Kiri." Kiri whispered, "I've tried my best." His voice clearly showed his exhaustion. "But I must at least do this to repay you," Baron tried to shout Kiri. He reassured, "It's okay, Kiri," but Kiri had placed the sword in his hand. "Raise your sword." Before he could finish his sentence, Kiri lost his strength and slid off Baron's shoulder. He collapsed onto the ground. "Don't stop." Baron gritted his teeth in pain. "No, Kiri." He lifted the sword in his hand with difficulty. Finally, Baron erupted in rage. He roared with anger, the sound so loud it shook everything nearby. "Kairos, a nation created by humans and dragons. Kairos demanded the treasure of my homeland Secretia." The time axis Baron slashed a Kairos soldier. Another was also stabbed straight in the neck by his sword, spewing a mouthful of fresh blood. Baron brutally slayed his enemies, and we refused that demand. At this moment, a mage from the enemy side cast a magic circle, unleashing a blue source of power. Just as it aimed straight for Baron and lunged, he only had time to glance and spot it. But that stream of power turned into a sharp blade that severed his hand. Baron gritted his teeth in agony, and that was the beginning. But he was determined to hold on to his sword. Then he continued to fight the enemy in the final war of our homeland. "This is Baron Secretia, King of Secretia." A mage from the Kairos side ordered only one left for the glory of Kairos. Immediately, a giant magic array opened in the sky. It shot a pillar of light straight down at Baron, carrying blazing fireballs. Baron tried to stand firm, his left hand gone. He thought, "I know it's too late. I can feel death approaching." But Baron remembered Kiri's words, "Don't stop." So he opened his eyes wide with determination and thought, "I can't let this stop my steps." Baron raised his sword, preparing to face the fireball, rushing towards him at an incredibly fast speed. He slashed into the middle of the fireball, only one thought in his mind: "I am the sword of Secretia." At this moment, a group of people approached Baron. He looked at them, their numbers terrifyingly large, all wearing hats and covering their faces. The Magic Legion of Kairos Valken, and the one who started this, the Mad King of Kairos Planche. Baron gritted his teeth in anger, his heart filled with hatred. They had turned my motherland into hell. At this moment, a person stepped forward, took off their hat. "Pleased to meet you. I am the commander of Valken Arkan." Arkan asked, "What's your name?" Baron replied coldly. "I've forgotten everything." He took a run up and jumped. "I'm just the sword that serves the king." As he spoke, Baron rushed towards Arsene and swung his sword. But Arsene wasn't scared at all and instead smiled excitedly. He raised his hand using magic to create ice shards. "I will remember you." "King of Secretia," Arsene said, as he controlled the ice shards to stab Baron, making him fall backward. Baron was knocked down while his hand still reached out, wanting to continue fighting. His face contorted in pain. Tears began to fall in that moment. I saw it my whole life. The fall of my beloved motherland. And the moment all light disappeared. In a sun-drenched room, a voice called out, "You must get up, Prince." Ian rang a small bell in his hand. "Did you sleep well?" Callian sat up without a word while Ian was still urging, "You must hurry. Prince Planche has already left." Callian quickly clutched the blanket. "What Planche?" He fumbled with his hand in confusion. "My hand was cut off." Ian paled upon hearing this. "What, Your Highness? Why would you say such a terrible thing?" The maids in the room also whispered worriedly, His hand was cut off. Did he have a nightmare? Suddenly Callian clutched his face and screamed. Ian was startled. Your Highness, are you all right? Callian, with the reincarnated Baron's soul inside, was struggling internally. The name belonged to the one I hated to the core. My arm is still intact, servants I've never seen, and memories that aren't mine are flooding my mind. He asked, Ian, who am I? Ian was dumbfounded. What? But he still answered, You are Callian Rain Kyrus, the third prince of Kyrus. Callian was stunned after hearing this, silently lamenting, This is a terrible nightmare. Callian trembled upon hearing this. Kyrus. Ayazane. He tried to remember in his mind but that person. Then he looked at Ian, who was watching him, worriedly. Callian was confused. What happened? He jumped up and asked, Hey, what's the date today? Ian replied, The date it's August 28th. Callian asked loudly again. What year? Ian replied dumbfoundedly. Year 522. Prince, is there a problem? Callian thought in confusion. Impossible. Now it's a decade ago, the final battle. The war broke out, originating from the time axis. The time axis. A unique and strange creation possessing the power to turn back time suddenly appeared in the Secretia royal palace. The news spread quickly, and the ruler of the entire Kyrus continent gradually coveted the time axis. At that time, the leaders of Secretia argued fiercely. What do you mean Kyrus ordered them to take over the time axis? It's absurd. Kyrus is indeed powerful. But the time axis clearly belongs to us. We at any cost cannot hand over such a dangerous creation to an enemy nation. Our side immediately rejected Kyrus's offer, and then they started a war with us as if they had been waiting for this excuse for a long time. And when outside was a bloody battlefield, Chase cried while holding Baron's hand, Baron, don't. He was in pain. Everyone on the battlefield was dead. Chase tightly gripped Baron's hand. I can't lose you too. But Baron didn't listen. He remembered that time. That day, brother Chase must have witnessed my death firsthand. Chase screamed in pain. No, Baron, Baron. Chase at that time regretted and shouted, If I could go back to the time before that terrible creation appeared. Suddenly, Baron realized something. Wait. He remembered the time axis. Impossible. Callian quickly threw off the blanket and got out of bed. Ian was surprised. Prince, where are you going? Callian reached out to open the window, thinking to himself, perhaps could it be that brother Chase had used the time axis to turn back time? Could it be he gave me this last chance to prevent the end of my homeland Secretia? Ian bowed in confusion. Prince, I understand that joining everyone for breakfast must be very difficult for you, but he spoke up to remind, we can't delay any longer. Callian gripped the windowsill. All right. He turned around, a slight smile on his face. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. I'll go prepare right away. If it's for the sake of fully utilizing this opportunity, then I will definitely survive well as Prince Kyrus. The large door slowly opened. A voice called out, Callian, third prince, please come in for your meal. Callian walked in. Randell was already waiting inside. Ian whispered to Callian, Please forgive me, your highness, I should have been a little faster. His voice was soft. I didn't expect Prince Randell to be here already. Randell Sale Kyrus. The first prince. All three of the emperor's sons were half-brothers, and all belonged to the Tensel, Holy Kingdom lineage. By order of the emperor, breakfast would be prepared for all three sons together every morning. But according to the memories in his mind, he always... Callian politely stepped forward and bowed. Please forgive my lateness. Randell didn't reply to him at all and just silently enjoyed his tea. Treated as if he didn't exist, Callian sat down with a smile on his lips, silently lamenting, I can't believe he's ignoring me so blatantly, it's so annoying. He was secretly wary, so he's the only prince not here yet. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed. Someone rushed inside, startling the butler. He hurriedly said, Planche, second prince, please have your meal. Planche quickly plopped down on the chair. Callian saw him and whispered in fear, What the hell is this? His gaze fell on Planche's bare chest, which his shirt couldn't cover. Callian couldn't believe it in his mind. What kind of royal family member would walk around looking like this? He compared it to the brutal image of Planche before and thought in confusion, is he really the Mad King? Planche, I know. At this moment, Planche nodded to allow the maid to pour tea. Callion lamented internally, looking at the attire and said, perhaps mad has a different meaning. He glanced at Randall sitting next to him again. Callion thought, if I remember correctly, the first prince cannot provoke the second prince, because the current queen of Kyrus is Planche's biological mother, and no one in this royal palace can challenge her authority. Callion sipped his tea and sighed inwardly, thinking about having to survive in a place like this. How disheartening. He didn't know Planche was watching him. Planche's voice made Callion freeze. How crude he looked towards Planche. Planche's eyes were cold. You have no manners at all. After all, you and your mother are still one flesh. Callion gritted his teeth in anger. He gripped the teacup so tightly it trembled, trying to restrain himself. I must endure. I can't let the chance Brother Chase gave me go to waste. But I still feel something rising in my throat. Planche reigned Kyrus, the one who destroyed my homeland. Callion glared at Planche with hatred. I want to tear his throat apart immediately. Planche was startled by his gaze, a little panicked and surprised. A teacup suddenly fell, making a loud noise. It was Planche who had swiped it to the ground. He gritted his teeth, frowning in anger. How dare you look at me like that? Randall quickly put down his teacup. Enough? Callion and Planche both turned to look at him. Planche noticed Randall's gaze directed at Callion. He glanced over, seeing Callion still maintaining his previous expression. Planche irritably ran his fingers through his hair. He slammed the table and stood up. I'm leaving. Planche was disgusted. That disgusting red eye, I'm not even hungry anymore. Suddenly, Randall also stood up, startling Callion into paying attention. Randall adjusted his collar. Callion, review your behavior. His face was emotionless. His Majesty's birthday is approaching. Are you planning to cause trouble right before the holiday like this? Callion scoffed upon hearing this. He thought irritably, does he mean this is my fault and not because of that bastard who just stood up and left? Ian asked from behind. Your Highness, are you all right? Are you injured anywhere? He knelt on one knee to wipe Callion's shoes. It's true that you encounter these things every day. Excuse me, tea has splattered all over your shoes. Callion looked at him with satisfaction and thought, at least I still have a loyal servant who takes care of me better than myself, despite witnessing terrible things happen to me every day. Callion placed his hand on Ian's shoulder. He spoke, Ian, thank you for caring about me. Ian was surprised to see his smile, thinking, usually Prince Callion would just cry silently, but now he's laughing. The first queen of Kyrus, Dragon Sisphanian, had hair as black as the night sky and eyes like sacred fire. Callion was the only prince to inherit her external features, but his strength was extremely pathetic. Callion always tried to hide his red eyes, because Planche hated them. The reason for that action was, at that time, Planche openly criticized disgusting red eyes Prince Planche. Callion was speechless, thinking, I feel a bit awkward, like I'm peeking into someone else's memories. He put his hands on his hips and sighed, lamenting internally. But this guy hides his eyes because he's afraid of someone like Planche. How foolish. Ian approached from somewhere. What's wrong? Do you want me to do anything? Callion replied, no, let's go back first. Ian exclaimed, Your Highness, you're so strange today. Did you read a novel about knights last night? Callion calmly replied, no. The third prince was born to a concubine of humble origins. He was always afraid of everything and had no one to support him. He was so weak he couldn't even protect himself. That was Callion's current situation. Right before the coming-of-age ceremony, thinking of this, Callion suddenly stopped. Wait, he turned and asked, Ian, how old am I? Ian replied dumbfoundedly, in 4 months, you will be 15, Your Highness. Callion's eyes widened in the stream of memories. At that time, Callion was assassinated. He tried to poison Queen Celeste but failed, and hung himself for fear of his crime being exposed. But no one believed it was true. Callion thought apprehensively, someone is about to target me. The large door swung open. Ian hurriedly called out, Your Highness. He tried to chase after Callion. Slow down. About 1 to 2 months before Callion died, when I don't know what happened to my old body, Baron. I can't just sit still. Ian was still worried. If you fall. Then Callian interrupted. Ian, give me the scissors. Ian was bewildered. Scissors. A sharp pair of scissors was brought over. Ian asked dumbfoundedly, Your Highness, what do you need scissors for? Callian held the scissors and smiled. He raised the scissors intending to cut his hair to Ian's fear and replied, Change a few things. Callian thought, If there's a predetermined future, then I'll change it. Ian's face turned pale in panic. Your Highness, what are you doing? Prince Planche will be very upset. Callian adjusted his hair. I can't keep living like an idiot just because he hates my eyes. He smiled reassuringly. It's okay, don't worry. Callian's face exuded confidence. I'll handle it. When Planche saw Callian's new look, he exclaimed, You're crazy. Ian stood behind Callian, his face fearful. Prince Planche. Ian silently shed tears. You said handle it. Is this how you handle it? Planche sat down directly on the chair. Hey, Red Eyes. Baron took a sip of water and spoke Callian. He smiled, reminding, My name is Callian Planche. Planche silently touched the knife on the table and pulled it towards him, replying, Ah yes, I should call you that. His eyes suddenly filled with murderous intent. Instantly Planche grabbed the knife and swung it high. By your name. The servants nearby were terrified. Ian also panicked upon seeing this, while Baron remained motionless. The knife moved increasingly faster towards him. A sound like a stab echoed. A drop of blood trickled down. Baron used his own hand to grip the knife tightly to Ian's astonishment. He shouted, Your Highness! He was so worried he stammered, Your Highness, your hand, you're seriously injured. Planche's voice was full of mockery. Oh dear, my hand slipped. He propped his chin, feigning concern. Callian's hand is injured. Oh no. Baron didn't silently chuckle. He went to Planche, slammed the knife on the table, indicating the previous attack had no effect. I'm fine, Brother Planche. Planche suddenly fell silent. Baron raised his bleeding hand. Nothing's wrong. Back in his room, Callian received first aid for his wound. Ian, with a worried expression, advised, Your Highness, I think we should call for treatment. Baron raised his hand to indicate it wasn't necessary. No. He looked at his hand. It's just a small cut. Ian couldn't help but be impatient, but he called his name Ian. Baron wondered, Why didn't you dodge earlier? He explained, You know that blow was aimed at you. If I hadn't blocked it, what would you have done? He looked reproachful. You should have been able to dodge blows like that, shouldn't you? He knelt on the ground, replying, But if I dodged, he would use that as an excuse to harm you, Your Highness. Baron chuckled lightly. He stood up, pushed aside the curtain, and entered a room. Baron instructed, Thanks to that, now my hand is bleeding and my heart is pounding. I'll wash my face to calm down, so don't let anyone in. Ian hurriedly stopped him. Wait a minute. Your Highness, I'll help. He refused. I can do it myself, and don't call a therapist. Ian was dejected. Your Highness. He cried pitifully outside. Why can't I call a therapist? Baron remembered just now. The moment the knife lunged at Ian, he remembered, I intended to use aura to target Planche's attack, but he stood behind the curtain, recalling that strange feeling. Suddenly his heart twinged. A thought flashed in his mind. I should recreate that situation. He began to focus his energy to confirm Callian's physical condition. The surrounding energy enveloped Callian's body. Suddenly Baron clutched his chest. What is this? He felt something very strange in Callian's body. I feel Callian's heart is surrounded by magic circles. 3 mana rings near the heart. He suddenly realized, Callian, you are a mage. Scene changed to a few days later. Baron in Callian's body was sitting on a chair, his eyes darting around awkwardly. Ian nearby spoke, It's been 3 days. He shouted in pity for him. And your wound is still the same. He reassured, I said it's fine. He was tearful, heartbroken, but Slake announced, Your Highness, it's all prepared. He introduced, Pleased to meet you. I am the royal tailor. Suddenly, he dropped the measuring tape from his hand to the ground, his face dazed. He stood up and asked, What's wrong? He sweated and bowed his head. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. But Freya, Ian interrupted. Slake. Slake was embarrassed. Your Highness, I sincerely apologize. He sighed silently, understanding. I've been getting this reaction ever since I cut my hair. It turns out, Slake's reaction was because Callion, who had suffered all hardships because he resembled the mother he had never met, began to hate seeing his own face to the point where he destroyed all the mirrors in the room. Baron waved his hand. It's okay. I know I look like Freya, just do what you came here to do. Slake slowly said, let me take your measurements first. He saw Callion's small arm and showed concern. You must eat more. Your Highness, you're too small. He retorted, I eat well. Satitya looked in the mirror. But this is really worrying. The Kairis royal family are descendants of dragons. Oh, more than that, descendants of two of the heroes who sealed the demon god, Hachara and Sisphanian. Sisphanian bestowed upon the main line of the Kairos royal family healing powers and magical abilities. The blessing of Sisphanian. He looked at his carefully bandaged arm. In other words, Callion's wound should have healed long ago, but it hasn't healed at all. Satisha felt a sharp pain in his chest. And every time I use mana, my heart aches. Baron sighed inwardly. This is trouble. At this rate, I won't be able to use either aura or magic. If an assassin comes, I'll just have to die. Slake turned and announced to Ian, I will bring the prepared clothes. Baron was wondering, is there anyone knowledgeable about mana? Slake said proudly, I have prepared outfits that are extremely suitable for His Majesty the Emperor's birthday banquet. He suddenly realized, that's right, the birthday banquet. He realized the opportunity had come, then he will be there. The great mage Ellen Manisil, I must meet him. In Baron's mind, he was one of only 3 or 4 people who were 7th Circle mages and an idol to all mages. In the past, Elon Manasiel had been invited to the king's birthday banquet and visited Kairos. He recalled some events and stories of an oversight that caused him to be denied entry at the door. Reached the neighboring kingdom Secretia, Elon Manasiel. The one who couldn't attend festivals became an archmage 10 years later. He was also the only one on the continent who could do so. Baron rested his chin on his crossed legs, pensive. When it comes to knowledge of mana, no one can surpass him. He will be able to help me with this body's problem. He turned his head to look out the window. I don't know what that misunderstanding was, but Kairos doesn't treat decent mages badly either, so I don't know if he'll agree to my proposal. Below, Pable was strolling. The reason tens of thousands of guards refused to join the Kairos kingdom. He observed the sword Pable wore at his hip. It's because of the influence from Planche's maternal family, the Brizzen family. Baron calculated silently. Even if I only control Brizzen's power, I still need the power of mages. If I can bring Elon to my side, I can prevent the war Planche is about to instigate. He stood up. Before that, though, Baron looked at everyone gathered around, discussing animatedly. Aren't these ribbons too small? I like big ribbons like this sample. Seton's eyes sparkled with pride. Shouldn't we add lace? He was weary. I have to deal with this first. He looked stern. No ribbons, no lace, nothing? Everyone was surprised. Yes, sir, he objected. If I wear that lace, do you think I'll be okay? What's wrong with those bells? What are you trying to do? Inside Callion's castle, Baron was peacefully enjoying a hot cup of tea on a beautiful morning. He finished the tea in one go and pondered. I'm gradually getting used to this life. He looked at Callion's hand. My hand has also healed completely, and Planche is also ignoring me, so that's even more advantageous. Ian took the teacup from him cheerfully, reporting the day's schedule. In the morning, you have a horse riding lesson, and in the afternoon, you have a dinner appointment with the Queen and Viscount Brisson, Your Highness. He was skeptical. With Viscount Bryson, Ian surmised, yes, I think it's probably because of His Majesty's birthday banquet. He sighed wearily. In the end, I'll have to meet him. Ian was confused. Your Highness, are you planning to train today as well? He replied, calling it training is just running around the lake next to the palace. Baron smiled reassuringly. Don't worry too much what could possibly happen. In the vast training area, his legs moved with heavy steps. He stopped panting heavily, drenched in sweat. Baron looked clearly exhausted. I'm probably out of breath. He could only scream in his mind, "I'm going to die." Marilyn worried, "Are you all right, Your Highness?" She was Callion's servant, the second daughter of the Commander-General of the Suburban Defense. She summarized, "The first day was 4.5 laps, the third day was 4 laps, and today—" He was leaning his exhausted body against a tree. She reported, "You only ran 3 laps, Your Highness." Baron was speechless. He silently considered, "Yes, I'm training, but my health keeps declining. Something is wrong." She suggested, "If it's too difficult, can we call a doctor?" "Your Highness." He refused. "No, it's all right." His hand clutched his right chest, secretly afraid. "If a doctor is called, the mana veins will be revealed immediately. Even if Ian doesn't know Callion is a mage, if I act carelessly, my life will be in danger." He feigned a healthy appearance. "It's all right, my health has just weakened a bit." "Why call a doctor?" Marilyn was concerned. "But Your Highness." He forced a smile while his body trembled from exhaustion. "I said I'm fine. I'll recover after a little while." Suddenly, a loud shout echoed, "Don't look away!" Someone's loud voice continuously echoed, "Read the direction of the sword slash, stay alert." The loud sound attracted the attention of the two. The knights were training together. "It seems the knights have started training." Pable continuously guided loudly. "Don't dodge the sword like that. Hey you, if this were a battlefield, you'd be dead already." The training scene was extremely serious and spirited. "Don't hesitate. Continue." He cheerfully recalled, "I remember the old days so well, it was wonderful." Marilyn from behind reminded, "Your Highness, this is the training ground of Pable's Knight Order." He looked at her and replied, "Yes, I know. I came to watch because I found it interesting." She was extremely surprised. "You, Your Highness, who had no interest in swordsmanship before." He justified, "It's fine if I find sword training interesting now." She spoke up to remind, "Your Highness, do you know what kind of place Pable's Knight Order is?" He was confident. "Yes, of course. They are the Royal Knights. To be precise, they are the Knight Order of the Brizen family, the ones who keep the king's power in check." Pable stepped forward and interrupted, "Who are you?" He shooed the two away. "If you have no business here, then leave." He made an excuse. "The knights are being distracted by your gaze and can't train seriously." Marilyn, hearing this, immediately shouted, "Show some respect. This is the third prince, Callion." He feigned fear. "Is that so? So you are Prince Callion?" Then he sneered. "I thought," he teased, "you were some little mouse peeking." Callion could no longer tolerate it. He was so angry he burst out laughing. "Good heavens!" Marilyn quickly spoke up to defend him. "How dare you speak such disrespectful words in front of His Highness?" Pable said dismissively. "I already said I misunderstood him." "Why are you so sensitive? Look, the prince doesn't even care." As soon as he finished speaking, he looked towards Callion and was startled with fear. His entire body exuded a murderous aura that made everyone shrink back upon seeing it. What is this right in front of him for sure? Pable recalled a previous day when he sat on horseback and shouted in his face, "What are you doing?" "Third Prince, I have to return to receive the Queen's summons. How dare you block my way?" Callion at that time could only shrink back trembling as he replied, "Please forgive me, I will get out of the way immediately." Pable didn't know since when he had changed so much. He was just a weak, feeble prince, but now he's like a different person. Although his body is still the same, his eyes give the opponent the feeling of looking at an extremely powerful monster. Immediately after Callion spoke, interrupting his thoughts, "General Pable, may I ask you something?" "What is your duty?" he said while staring intently at him. Pable was completely intimidated by his overwhelming presence, unable to speak. Just then, other soldiers appeared from behind. "General Sir, is something wrong?" When they saw Callion was also there, they whispered amongst themselves, "Isn't that the third prince? What is he doing here, so troublesome?" "Right. He's just the third prince, a prince even the knights look down upon." Pable regained his composure. He smiled and said, "You see, we are in the middle of training, so I cannot answer you. I hope the prince will continue with his business." Marilyn looked at him worriedly. "Your Highness." Seeing Pabel still maintaining that disdainful attitude, Callion frowned and said in a stern voice, General Pabel, I am asking you, report your duties quickly. Everyone here was surprised by his attitude, because in their minds Callion was always just a weak and useless prince. Pabel slowly replied, My duty is to build a strong royal army and to protect the royal family as well as this kingdom. Callion, while breaking a small branch from the nearest tree, said, That's right, build and protect. But you, he used his strength to snap the branch in one go, have fulfilled neither of those duties. He frowned, showing anger. What are you saying, Your Highness? First, building a strong royal army. From what I've observed, to put it mildly, your military training is a complete mess. He looked at him with sharp, cold eyes. Immediately after, to everyone's astonishment, Callion moved so fast he created gusts of wind around him. I don't know, since when? He was already behind Pabel. Callion, without hesitation, used the branch in his hand to lunge forward and attack him. Pabel was purple with fear. If I can't block that attack, I'll lose my life. Before his eyes, the scene of himself having his throat slit by Callion's own hand appeared vividly. Using all his ability, Pabel drew the sword from his hip and quickly blocked Callion's strike. He frowned. Just with that branch. Callion gripped the branch tightly with his hand. Then he suddenly smiled and unexpectedly dropped the branch. Pabel's sword was immediately sent flying, sticking straight into the ground. He smiled and glanced at him, clutching one of his wrists. I can't believe you couldn't predict the moves of someone like me who has never held a sword. You disappoint me. As for the second matter, Pabel fearfully looked at his trembling hand. What in the world is this? The way he acts, and that damn aura too. Callion showed his own wrist, which had a red mark, and said, The protector of the royal family and the kingdom dares to be so disrespectful to a member of the royal family, even daring to injure the prince with a sword. Should I consider that treason? He asked him, frowning. Pabel was so scared his eyes rolled back. Is he really the third prince I once knew? Even me. Immediately after he knelt before him. Please forgive me, Prince Callion. It was due to my foolishness. I had no treasonous thoughts. Please forgive me. The other soldiers, seeing him act like this, were also astonished with their mouths agape. Marilyn was no exception. Please be lenient, Your Highness. Outwardly, he appeared respectful, but inwardly, he gritted his teeth and thought, Because of this damn useless third prince, I've been humiliated like this. I will never forget today's disgrace. Cutscene. Ian frowned, asking in a stern voice, Why do you want to come here to train physically, but you bring a horse along? Amidst a garden of vibrant flowers, Callion casually brought along a large horse. Instead of feeling guilty, his face was lit with a joyful smile. Callion tossed the reins back to Ian and said, I acquired it on my way here. Its name is Raven. He protested loudly, Wait, where did you go? Why did you bring this horse back? Going back a few minutes after the commotion died down, he pointed towards the black horse frantically struggling on the other side and asked the soldiers, What's with that horse? Prince Planche couldn't tame it, Your Highness. As you can see, it's very aggressive. Callion showed interest in it. This horse. Ian became even angrier after hearing this. You just brought Prince Planche's horse back like that. And Callion didn't answer him but whispered to Marilyn. He said whether it's a guide or a stable hand, anyone can ride it. Let's keep what happened at the training school a secret. Ian worriedly asked him, Wait, but what if he finds out? Callion sighed. I told you it's fine. If anything happens, as he was speaking, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. Callion let out a small cry, making both of them turn pale with fear. Prince, he frowned and thought to himself, just as I thought I've overworked this body. Ian was endlessly worried. Was today's physical training a bit too much for you, Your Highness? That's not it. It's been a long time since I've been able to play freely with others like this. He was startled to hear that, with whom, Your Highness? Callion didn't answer the question but said instead, Ian, at this rate, I won't make it back in time for dinner today. Hurry and prepare. Ian immediately obeyed. Yes, sir, I will prepare quickly, Your Highness. Now what should we do with this horse? Prince, it doesn't bite, does it? He smiled and said, I'm not sure about that. In the beautiful garden ground, sunbeams shone on the flowers, making them even more radiant. There, two people were sitting. I understand. So, what did it say? How interesting. I heard even a worm will turn. It really fits. The man held a flower in his hand, then crushed it without any mercy. Even if someone like him writhes, he can't change his origins. Just crushing it isn't fun at all, so let's do it this way. Now let's see. Interspersed with those words were flower petals slowly falling as if it were someone's fate. Cut scene. Callian slightly curled his lips, letting out a chuckle. Beside him were Planche and Randell. All three sat silently, no one uttering a word. Callian thought to himself, this atmosphere, I really can't adapt to it. Is it like this every day? But he stared at Planche, thinking with some suspicion, why is that bastard so calm today? It's probably my fault the Queen and Viscount Brisson are late. He really can't control his expressions, can he? He's still too childish. Just then a series of footsteps echoed. Callian immediately recognized this scent. He smiled with delight. She's finally here, the one, who holds the true power of this kingdom. Calice Brisson, the second queen, the current queen of Kyrus. After the previous queen died from a violent illness, Calice, who took her place, borrowed power from her family the Brissines and held the authority to command the royal knights. Most of the nobility supported the Brisson family, so Calice's power grew day by day, and the powerless Prince Callian had become a laughingstock even to the commoners. Viscount Renan Brisson, the second son of Marquis Brisson, a rather cunning-looking fellow, walked right behind her. He smiled and asked, "So we'll agree with General Pable like that, shall we?" Kelechi replied coolly, "Yes, compensate him fully." "Yes, yes, I understand." She slowly sat down on the chair and said, "And in the future, don't report such trivial matters to me anymore. Really, do I have to pay attention to such trifles?" Callian said nothing, just silently stared at her from beginning to end. So everyone was almost present at the dining table now. Select softly called his name Callian. "You've matured a lot lately, haven't you?" She gave a smile that wasn't entirely friendly. Of course he had anticipated all of this. This reaction, I already guessed it. Callian smiled, picked up his wine glass. "I haven't matured much yet, Your Majesty. I'm sure I will mature much more in the future." Planche and Randell, sitting beside him, both looked astonished upon hearing these words. Only Celeste frowned, her face clearly showing displeasure. Immediately after, Viscount Renan smiled brightly and said, "Of course, but whether you've matured a lot or not, I almost didn't recognize you. Your Highness, you're showing your face now, aren't you? I'm very happy to see your face. You should have cut your hair sooner." He casually said these words as if he couldn't sense the tense atmosphere here. "And since you're still in your developmental stage, you will surely—" Before he could finish his sentence, Select slammed her fan hard on the table. "Brother." Renan, seeing this, was extremely flustered. "Yes, huh? Ahem, I'm so hungry. Bring out the food quickly." Callian also found it quite amusing. The master of the Brisson Trading Company is this foolish. Everything is exactly as rumored, how interesting. Of course his expressions couldn't escape Celeste's notice. She had been observing him from beginning to end. Then Celeste whispered to her son Planche, "Planche, why didn't you tell me?" He frowned and asked back, "About what, mother?" She glared at him. "About your disobedient horse." Planche glanced at her, then quickly turned his face away, scoffing. "If only you had told me earlier." Planche replied nonchalantly, "You already knew, mother." Celeste then said, "You never told me it had gotten out of your control." Hearing this, he suddenly froze. His entire face turned cold. Planche threw the fork in his hand straight onto the table. It was a useless horse from the very beginning. Saying that, he stood up looking like he wanted to leave. "I'll go first." Planche's series of actions angered Celeste. She softly gritted her teeth. "Planche." Cut scene. 3 weeks later, at His Majesty's annual birthday banquet, the people of the entire nation were joyous, excited for this grand festival. This way, this way. Since this is His Majesty's birthday banquet, we mustn't make any mistakes. In the square, countless people bustled about, the air filled with joy. "Look, that's the congratulatory delegation from the elves. Those are all gifts, right? The birthday banquet must be very extravagant." The princes must be busy preparing too, right? I want to meet them soon, I'm so excited. At the same time, inside the palace, Callion was being carefully measured by Seton for clothes. Wait, what? He tearfully asked him, Your Highness, you've eaten. But immediately after, his face suddenly turned pale, his expression filled with surprise. Your Highness! Blood suddenly gushed from Callion's nose, covering his hands and clothes. Drop by drop blood dripped onto the floor. Callion's nosebleed wouldn't stop scaring the servants so much their faces turned pale. Ian, seeing this, rushed over, Your Highness! Quickly bring cotton and bandages here. He covered his nose and told them, It's okay, it's nothing. Callion smiled reassuringly. It's just because I haven't been sleeping well lately. See, it's not bleeding anymore. But Ian was still extremely worried. That's not the issue, Seton said tearfully. Please forgive my rudeness, but it's not just that, Your Majesty. You've lost a lot of weight. 3 weeks ago, you still looked like you had some flesh on your bones. Hearing this, Callion's face became somber and he said nothing. Then he faintly smiled. I've lost a lot of weight, so what? Or is it because I've been overtraining lately? He thought to himself, I've been training very diligently, but my stamina is getting worse day by day. The pain every time I use mana is still there. My heart definitely has a problem. He frowned and said, You mustn't take this lightly, Your Highness. Have you seen a doctor? Callion suddenly broke into a sweat, not knowing how to deal with this. It's not that bad. Just a nosebleed and I have to see a doctor. He felt extremely annoyed. This old man keeps mentioning healers. Why did I have a nosebleed in front of so many people? Sitin still wouldn't let him off. It's not just a nosebleed. Callion could only force a chuckle. I'm really fine. I can't let this matter go. Just then Ian interjected, looking reproachful at him. I knew it. It's because you picked your nose yesterday. It's also hard for you to admit that personal habit to others. Hearing this, Callion was utterly bewildered. Wait, what? The other servants looked as if they understood. So Prince Callion has such a secret habit, huh? He continued with a long spiel. I told you Prince Callion eats and trains very moderately. The nosebleed must be due to his habit. Don't worry too much, sir. Seton finally didn't pursue it further. If Ian said so, then it's all right, because he understands the prince best. And so Callion's dignity in front of the servants was completely lost. Contrary to his I don't want to live anymore expression, Ian laughed with extreme delight, even winking at him. Callion was completely shocked, his mouth agape. This brat. Ian's worried face suddenly appeared in his mind. Are you all right, Your Highness? You don't look well. He sat tiredly on the chair. The weaker my body gets, the more I feel like I'm about to faint. So after figuring it out, I was able to use magic, and I realized the cause lies in mana. Although he had just been tricked, Callion had no intention of blaming him. Is he trying to ruin my image like this? Anyway, thanks to him, I wasn't questioned anymore. This could be called a blessing in disguise. Then Seton softly said, Then I'll adjust the clothes as discussed, Your Highness. He was a bit worried. However, time is a bit tight. Ian smiled and said to him, It's all right. The prince also has things to do, so until the event starts, he still has plenty of time. Hearing this, Seton happily gathered his things and left. That's a relief then. In that case, I'll alter the attire for the afternoon event first. After he left, Ian whispered softly in his ear, Your Highness, it's not today, is it? Callion's face was serious as he gave a slight nod. He thought to himself, At this rate, my health condition will spread throughout the entire palace. So before that, tonight I must meet Ellen Manasil at all costs. Cutscene. In the blink of an eye, it was His Majesty the Emperor's birthday. After preparing everything neatly, a butler from the royal palace came to inform Callion. Due to an urgent matter that needs to be resolved, Prince Luncheon cannot attend. Therefore, we will compensate by meeting each person individually, Your Highness. Hearing this, he raised his eyebrows in surprise. There's hardly any time to meet, yet he wants to meet each person individually. Wouldn't it be more convenient to meet everyone at the same time? With suspicion, Callion slowly walked behind the butler. Soon they arrived at the Emperor's private chamber. Callion felt a bit nervous mixed with anxiety. I didn't expect to have a private meeting. I'm a little worried. Please enter, Prince. His Majesty is already waiting. He stepped into the room. The king of Kyrus, Romain Le Rune Kyrus king, was sitting on a chair intently reading a pile of documents in his hand. Callian respectfully greeted him. "I request an audience with your majesty." But there was no response for a long time. He felt extremely surprised. Is he ignoring me? Even though I know nothing about Kyrus's etiquette, this behavior is surely very rude. He frowned and thought to himself. After a while he finally said to him, "Sit." Callian forced a smile without a trace of insincerity and said, "Congratulations on your 38th birthday, your majesty." Romain just coolly asked him, "Yes, and how are you?" "You look quite cheerful lately." Callian suddenly stiffened his face, visibly darkened, but he maintained the smile on his face. He recalled the previous expressions of the servants who had smirked when they saw him in trouble. Even passers-by know how quickly I was set free. Now I know the reason he wants to meet each person individually even though no one has time. If he met all three princes at the same time, he would have to focus on conversation, so meeting each one individually is more effective. Because even spending time listening to his son's birthday wishes is a waste. The more I know about this family, the more I see it's a mess. A father who doesn't care about his children at all. The first prince is just a reckless person. The second prince is disrespectful. Everyone quickly gathered in the palace hall to celebrate the emperor's birthday. A servant following Planche softly reminded, "Your Highness, we can all smell alcohol." But he paid no attention at all. Next, Teleche slowly walked in. The emperor, seeing her, said, "You're a bit late, my dear." Teleche smiled in reply, "Yes, it had to be so, your majesty." Callian felt extremely excited, and the queen who has enough power to disdain the king. Among them, someone is trying to eliminate me. The announcement rang out, "The event will begin shortly. Let's see who it is. Who is the one who sent assassins to kill me?" In the midst of that joyful crowd, when people saw Callian, they whispered amongst themselves, "Have you heard just recently in the square? Prince Callian." "Oh, I heard the rumors too. He appeared before the subjects with a completely different appearance, didn't he? Compared to him, second Prince Planche looks drunk." "Oh dear, again, I guess nothing will change. Busy people always make a big deal out of things. But something is strange." "Doesn't everyone see it? Unlike in the previous life, something has changed." Everyone shouted in unison, "The third Prince Callian Ran Kyrus has arrived." As soon as he entered, all the nobles in the hall stood stunned. Heavens, the rumors are true. The prince with black hair and red eyes like Sisfanian. He cut the bangs that used to hang over his face. And he's also wearing a red hairpin. Perhaps this is a declaration that he will no longer hide. Ian slightly frowned, his face serious, and whispered in Callian's ear, "Your Highness, why is everyone—" He looked around and saw everyone deliberately avoiding his gaze. Ian asked curiously, "Everyone is looking at your attire, your Highness." "Just as I thought. It's because you look so beautiful in that outfit. Seton would be very happy to see this," he said excitedly. Hearing this, Callian frowned. "They're looking and wondering why the third prince is wearing jewelry like this. Do you know how hard it was for me to stop that guy?" He shivered slightly as he recalled the scene when choosing clothes for the festival. It's a good thing it only went this far. If I wore all that jewelry, I'd look even more hideous. Ian's face showed complete adoration. "But you look so handsome, your Highness." Callian quickly came to a conclusion. Those two don't know how to see anything, that's why they casually chose that hairpin. Cut scene. The two walked upstairs one after the other. Callian asked him as they walked, "By the way, Ian, you said your family is also in Kyrus, right?" Ian was quite surprised. "So you still remember that, your Highness?" "My younger sister and father have returned to our hometown. The rest live in Kyrus." He then asked him, "Is that so? Do they visit the royal palace?" "If they receive an invitation, yes, your Highness." "By the way, when should I move Raven to the royal garden?" Ian quickly realized Callian didn't want to answer this question, so he changed the subject. He just shrugged. "Some things are better left unmentioned." Callian looked down at the crowd below and said, "Now let's just wait for the right time. You see, I want to meet someone." Ian was so shocked his eyes widened and his mouth fell open. "The person you want to meet, your Highness." He smiled and asked him, Do you know why the ballroom is called Siegfried Hall? He didn't understand why he was asking about this. Of course I know. It's because it was named after the first patriarch, who was also one of the 8 heroes in the Twin Paths War, Duke Quitros Hon Siegfried, the only ducal family in Kairos Siegfried. Despite possessing great power, they have remained loyal to the royal family for the past 500 years, wholeheartedly protecting Sisfanian's territory. Callian was very interested to hear about this. When I was young, I was very impressed by this story. Ian whispered softly to him, "Your Highness is the person you must meet." "That's right, the person I want to meet is—" Just then, a loud laugh echoed throughout the hall. A summer night in Siegfried is indeed an immortal song. Hearing this voice, both of them slightly frowned. Coincidentally, he's here. The one who had just laughed loudly was none other than Duke Slyman Hon Siegfried, the person just mentioned in the story. He smiled and said, "I am Duke Slayman Hon Siegfried. Am I not right?" Callian felt interested in him. Such a long-standing, loyal family, that's exactly the type of person I like. "Then should I test your sharpness?" Immediately after he used a bit of mana to move towards him. As soon as he released his mana, Slyman quickly sensed it. He turned his head to look at him. Callian thought with satisfaction. As expected, he found me immediately. Just after releasing a little, Ian, seeing Slyman looking at him, whispered, "It seems Duke Siegfried is interested in you, Your Highness. After all, he is one of the 5 sword saints on this continent. He wouldn't be so petty," he thought to himself. Then Callian replied to Ian's words, "I am truly grateful, but it's still too early. Just pretend we don't notice." Then he glanced at Slyman and turned to leave. At this moment in the grand hall, the banquet was only half over. Emperor Romain was raising his glass with the nobles. "Thank you all for coming to congratulate. Let's enjoy tonight, for Kairos." No one noticed Callian and his servant secretly using a rope to climb down. Escaping from there, he happily climbed onto Raven's back. Raven is indeed very gentle and obedient. Ian protested indignantly, "Don't be fooled when you're not here, Your Highness." Callian still staunchly defended Raven. Looking at Raven's agility, you can see it's truly intelligent. He could only sigh helplessly. The soldiers guarding the royal palace, upon seeing Callian, didn't stop him, but just bowed to him and made way. "I just need to go to the front gate, right?" "Yes," while waiting there. Just then, at the entrance gate, voices were heard, "No entry without an invitation. I came from afar to attend the festival. You can't enter, hurry and leave." Callian, seeing the person standing in front of the gate, was incredibly excited. "He's here?" At the palace gate, the man frowned and said, "Are you sure you want to deny me entry just because of a card? I am Elon Manasil." Everyone was surprised. Elon Manasil. 2 nearby guards approached. Then they signaled each other. One from the group of soldiers stepped out and reminded, "Even if you are Elon Manasil, you still need an invitation to enter." Elon gave a mysterious smile. He replied, "Damn it, so Kairos discriminates guests based on appearance? Huh." Baron, hearing those words, was surprised. What's going on? He considered, judging others' attire to discriminate is indeed a problem, but Elon Manasil seems to be deliberately causing trouble. Baron surmised, it seems he's trying to make excuses to avoid coming to Kairos. Elon turned his horse. "All right then, I'll be heading back." He was a bit worried. "If we let him go like this," Ian shouted loudly. "No, the king has ordered that no one is allowed to leave while the festival is ongoing." Ellen continued to move outwards. Baron, seeing the urgent situation, worried silently. "At this rate, I'll lose track of him." Baron, seeing the urgent situation, worried silently. "You find a way to stop the soldiers." He rode on horseback, commanding, "Let's go, Raven." Ian behind hadn't yet processed, Your Highness." The guards were extremely confused at this moment, trying hard to stop him. "Your Highness, dismount quickly." A knight shouted loudly, reminding, "The king has ordered that no one is allowed to leave." Baron, disregarding all attempts to stop him, rode quickly out of the palace, startling the knights. Everyone shouted, "The prince has left the city." Everyone chased after him. "Prepare the horses quickly. Chase after him now." Ian felt awkward. What now? At this rate? He remembered Callian's instruction. "Ian, do whatever it takes to stop the soldiers for me." He bit his lip, regaining his composure. Focus, I am Prince Callian's attendant. I must protect His Highness at all costs. This is my duty. Ian shouted loudly, attracting the knights and guards. Stop! He signaled to stop. Duke Siegfried himself allowed Prince Callian to go out. Everyone was surprised. Huh, who are you to dare call the Duke by his name like that? He used his hand to untie his hair ribbon, announcing clearly, I am Ciro Yun Siegfried. Under the sparkling moonlight, the wind made his hair flutter. The eldest son of Duke Siegfried. The castle echoed with hearty laughter. Slyman slapped his thigh resoundingly, laughing incessantly. Ian sat beside him, his face so embarrassed it turned red on both cheeks. He was bitter. There's nothing funny, father. He laughed until tears streamed down and replied, Sorry. I can't believe my son would make such a clever move. He continuously patted Ian's head in praise, the son who left home just to raise a brat. He was annoyed. Father. He praised his intelligence endlessly. But that was the right decision. He retorted, No, it's not. His Highness is about to ruin the relationship between you and His Majesty. He confidently affirmed he won't ask. He was surprised. Yes? He reassured he won't suspect anything. Slyman seemed to understand Romain's personality quite well. Romain is very suspicious. If the prince happens to receive help from the Siegfried clan, he will be put in a position where he has to be wary of our good intentions. If through this relationship he receives assistance instead of punishment, this is also like acknowledging the amicable relationship between our family and the prince, and Brizin will probably see that something is amiss. He proposed a solution, so just bury this matter as if nothing happened. He seemed unwilling to get involved in everything, regardless of the reason he left the city. Outside the city walls, Callian still followed Ellen. Ellen spoke. It seems you didn't come all this way just to criticize me for coming uninvited, did you? He took off his hood, turned around, and asked Callian, Why is the third prince of Kyrus following this old man? Baron rejoiced silently. I heard that if one reaches the seventh circle of lightning, there's a possibility of reverse aging. Perhaps I just witnessed that ability firsthand. Baron politely inquired, It's late. Are you still planning to return, sir? Ellen explained, Every time I try to open a closed door, the extra door is usually placed too high. Baron's face, though smiling, seemed angry. What does the bar is too high mean? Is he trying to argue with me? Then I give up. Baron retorted, I say this because you keep banging your head against a closed door while another door is waiting for you. Where did you hide the invitation card? Baron tried to think of a way to deal with it. I was so busy blocking the wind that I forgot to wipe the dust off the door bar. I don't think a guard would make a mistake, just because I want to stop outsiders. Ellen, hearing this, was extremely surprised. He didn't apologize, but even judged me. Is it because he's straightforward or tactless? He gave an amused smile. Probably an interesting prince. He observed Callian and assessed, the first time I met him, those eyes weren't those of a 14-year-old child. He suddenly realized something. Finishing his words, he suddenly called out, Your Highness. To Callian's bewilderment, he grabbed Callian's hand. Allow me, Your Highness. Callian was startled. What are you doing? A red energy seemed to surround Callian's hand. Suddenly he felt a sharp pain in his heart, constricting painfully. Baron discovered Ellen's mana entering Callian's body. It seemed he had reached his limit of endurance as the power grew increasingly stronger. Callian quickly shook Ellen's hand away. The force of the energy pushed him further away. Ellen looked at his own hands and replied, Even if you close one door, another door will open. Baron judged. He already knew about my body's condition. He felt confused. Will another door open too? His gaze became sharp. That's right, you are very correct. From a certain point in time, I could no longer use mana. Ellen silently analyzed. No? The problem isn't with the mana. Does he really not know that? Ellen looked at the hand tightly gripping the horse's reins. Is the real root of the problem somewhere else? Ellen's face was now full of dark energy, clenching his fists tightly. A few things to know regarding Callian. Kyrus treats mages very poorly even if they are descendants of dragons. The Archmage personally came to a family like this intending to teach the people of that country that having an Archmage and not knowing how to keep them leads to losing composure. However, if my encounter with this young prince who is obstructing me could be fate, Ellen crossed his arms and wondered, "Why do you want to find me?" Baron recounted, "The thing is," he suddenly stopped. "If I lie, he'll know immediately." He called Ellen Ellen Manassel. He called Ellen Ellen Manassel. He explained, "I believe that." He also seemed very determined, "Soon my life will be threatened." Ellen knew quite a bit about Callion. "It's not that I don't know the third prince's situation. Everyone hates the prince. Everyone is the prince's enemy." Ellen, while dismounting, created a protective dome around Callion and himself. He was a bit surprised. Silent magic. He can cast spells without incantations. I guess he must be a seventh circle mage. Ellen wondered, "Is your goal?" Ellen leaned against the horse. "Is it simply to prevent that from happening?" His expression was serious. "Or are you trying to find a way to eradicate the root of the problem?" On a night, Baron smiled and replied, "For now I'm just trying to prevent it from happening." Ellen was silently surprised. "For now?" Baron explained further, "But I also want to thoroughly resolve the root cause of the problem." He expressed, "To achieve what I want, I'm willing even to sit on the throne. That's all." Ellen didn't expect even the throne is just an option for him to achieve his goal, when he's just a prince with that slowly dying body. And Mio won. He saw the determination in Callion's words, "A prince with a personality like Sisfanian, a prince who needs me to achieve his goals." He slightly curled his lips into a smile. "How interesting." The shield was taken down by Ellen. He suggested, "Then send me that invitation again. Show me what you can do." Baron smiled with satisfaction. He immediately knelt down to make a request. Callion ran Kyrus requests an audience with Master. Ellen was filled with pride. "I, Ellen Manassel, will accept the prince's invitation and save you." As for Ian, Ian was skeptical. "Father, are you sure the people in the palace don't know who I am?" Slimon still calmly reassured, "I told you I've resolved everything smoothly. You don't need to worry." He was hesitant. "I guess you're telling the truth, Father, because if not, I wouldn't be able to stay by the prince's side." He cheerfully explained, "That's right. You're a member of the royal lineage, yet you don't resemble your family in any way, neither in appearance nor in manner." He fell into deep thought. His hands clearly showed he was a bit worried. "And Leah?" he wondered. "How is she?" He replied, "She's doing very well in the position of head of the branch family that you left behind." He stood up and stretched. "Anyway, if you're tired of being a nanny servant, you can return to your old position any time." He sighed. "It will probably be a while before we meet again, son." He hung his head and wondered, "What do you mean by that, Father? We'll meet again in 3 months." His expression was serious. "Do you really think about—" He seemed somewhat unsure. "Giving up your position as the prince's servant?" He wasn't sure. "Did you really offer to be that brat's servant?" He was silent for a moment, then replied, "He will soon be 15 years old." Slayman was about to say something. Then suddenly he called him, "Hey, son." He asked, "Do you know what the nickname of our Siegfried family is?" He hesitated. "Yes." He smiled faintly. "Yes, just as you said." He explained, "The Caris elephants." He envisioned their family as gentle elephants before a pack of cunning lions. "It's been a long time. We haven't fought for the throne. But when the lions begin to attack, those gentle elephants also become strong. But we are strong and are called the king of beasts, those whom even the zookeepers dare not touch." He looked at his father with a bewildered expression. "Why suddenly, father?" he shouted. Slimon teased, "Why, I'm talking about my name. The one you sold cheaply is very strong, so—" He hugged his son tightly. "Just do whatever you want." He felt happiness. Before it could be romantic for 3 seconds, he hugged his son tightly and cheerfully. "Anyway, this brat, you make me worry so much about you." Ian struggled. "Stop. Stop it, father. It hurts like hell." The castle was enveloped by his screams. "I'm about to die." He neatened his clothes, his expression serious. "Anyway, Duke Siegfried." Slimon was surprised. "Duke, suddenly, and bowed to his father. "Then I'll see you next time, father." He watched his son's figure gradually disappear. He looked weary. Heavens, its meaningless stubbornness. A true Siegfried for sure. He looked back. Anyway, that brat. Since when did he grow up so much? He sighed. Really now, I wonder what that boy is planning to do. In front of the majestic and splendid castle, people whispered amongst themselves, "Oh my goodness, I'm not mistaken, am I?" Everyone was focusing their attention on a black carriage. Is that really the symbol? A special symbol that surprises everyone, 7 red flowers and a silver magic wand. A woman opined, "I heard about his contract with Reborn." The person beside her wondered, but why would he come to Kairos? The two took turns discussing animatedly, isn't it obvious because he also went through something like that? If it weren't for his relationship with King Reborn, he would have been left behind too. The whispering didn't stop. It's probably because of that rumor, right? Is that right? Ellen Manisil's son is… Suddenly, the person in the carriage stepped down. They paused their conversation. Stepping down was Ellen. He smiled and praised silently. My new disciple has done some very cute things. Going back to yesterday, Callian cheerfully instructed, understood master exactly at 9:30. He instructed, you need to go there and open the door at that time. Ellen judged, is this the prince's plan to compete with the Brizzen family? It won't be easy. He's waiting for the right time to introduce himself to the nobles and turn the tables. A voice rang out, interrupting his train of thought. I'm quite surprised by your unexpected visit, Mage Manisil. It turned out to be the butler and servants. The prince is waiting. A surprised voice rang out. What did you say, sir? Romain wondered. A place to stay. Mr. Manisil in Kairos. Ellen replied, that's right, I need a place to stay in Kairos. He fell silent. He calculated carefully. To confront Selechi, I think I need power like Ellen's. But to think he would make such a proposal first. He wondered, what is he planning? As if understanding Romain's bewilderment, Elon explained, honestly, last night in the square, he made an excuse. I saw a black cat with red eyes. Romain, hearing this, went stiff. A black cat. Then he forced a laugh and continued to fabricate. He's quite intelligent, so I thought I should teach him a few new things, but I don't have a place to stay. Hearing it, the black cat with red eyes didn't seem much different from Callian. Romain probed, what are you planning to teach the prince, sir? He replied, naturally, it's magic. He sipped his tea calmly. Not only that, but I also intend to create an environment that cats will like. If I want to do that, I need help from the owner of the house, and to clean the house a bit. Romain was extremely surprised to hear the request. He was concerned. Will you be able to manage it, sir? He affirmed without hesitation, I have decided to take Prince Callian as my disciple, so Brizzen cannot stop me, and I won't be able to teach only magic to the prince. So if this master of disaster decides to help your prince, they won't be able to stop me. All these thoughts are a genuine invitation from Prince Callian. Romain clenched his fists, hesitated. He stood up and declared, all right, I will provide you with lodging. He added, this house is already very messy, so I can't let it get any messier. He walked towards his desk. But for some reasons, I'm quite curious. I heard that child isn't special. He felt confused, not special. He silently considered even if his health condition is truly hopeless. He recalled the moment he held Callian's wrist, to the point where it's difficult to find anything normal. I heard he has quite a few fears. So thinking about that child who seems to be afraid of horses chasing after you, but why since before? He was only talking about what he had heard. Romain's voice interrupted his thoughts. If he were outstanding, I would have heard about it already. He hesitated. Your prince, perhaps you know about the prince's height. At this, the two fell silent, looking at each other. Ellen presented, by some coincidence does this reveal how tall the princes are, Your Majesty? Seeing his silence, he knew for sure in his heart, just as I thought, he knows nothing. He stood up. Depending on the time, attention can be a poison and indifference a remedy, however. He sternly expressed, being busy is not a good excuse, Your Majesty. The space fell into silence. He clearly showed his displeasure. Mr. Manisil, I will overlook your attitude of not knowing your place, assuming it's due to your concern as Callian's master. He was angry. It's ridiculous that I have to explain this myself, but I truly care about the princes. He walked to the door, took the doorknob. Especially that child Callian, he is truly my most beloved son. Roman tactfully dismissed. I think we should end this conversation. Elon flinched and snapped his fingers. A red circle also appeared around Romain, similar to when Elon met Callian. He stood outside the circle. Enough with the small talk. Take another look, Your Majesty. He wondered, what in the world are you doing, sir? How can you use magic in the royal hall? Ellen recounted what he had observed. His lips are parched. His breathing is irregular. His skin is pale and sallow, and under his fingernails it's gradually turning purple. His clothes were tailored in a great hurry. How long does it take to make a set of clothes? About a month, perhaps. It was tailored smaller to fit a body that had lost a lot of muscle mass. He recounted how Callian's health had declined. He tried to force himself up, unable to pull his body from the bed with his eyes tightly shut. He felt dizzy. Roman was horrified. Impossible. Ellen assessed, if you keep acting like an outsider like this, you will lose everything. As for Baron, Ian stood in front of Callian's room. A servant approached Ian. She was worried. It's almost noon, yet the prince still hasn't had his morning tea. In her hand was a golden teacup. He smiled brightly. Please give it to me. I will take care of the prince if he coughs. He carried the tea tray into the room. Callian was lying tiredly on the bed. Ian was worried. He's still sleeping. Was yesterday a bit too much for him? He worried about Callian's health. Your Highness. Suddenly behind Ian, Ellen appeared and asked, still not awake, right? The space was unusually quiet. Ian was startled and screamed, I almost spilled the tea tray. He wondered in fear, Mr. Manasil, where are you? Ellen looked weary. He said in a frightened voice, wait a moment, Mr. Manasil. How can you act so thoughtlessly? He justified, they said outsiders cannot enter Shermeen Palace without permission. Ian was extremely confused. So what, you teleported here because you weren't allowed in? He calmly replied, it's a spatial fold. It's a bit more difficult. See, I'm quite good at using that magic. He shouted loudly. That's not important right now. He stepped in front to block Ellen. Anyway, please leave, Your Highness. The prince's health still hasn't... He interrupted, approaching Ian closely. You know me, don't you? He was slightly threatening. You came to Reborn a few years ago. Do you think I wouldn't recognize you just because you've grown up? Ian suddenly remembered muttering, little elephant. Father? He remembered Slayman's words. Don't worry. My son isn't that elegant, so of course no one will suspect you. His eyes were brimming with tears, full of fear. But I've been caught. It happened so fast. Suddenly, Callian woke up. Is that Ian? How long have I slept? He seemed to escape Ellen's interrogation. Prince. Ellen gestured towards himself. You have a guest, Your Highness. Baron tiredly sat up. Who is it, Master? A red cloth bag was placed on the floor. Take it, Prince. Baron curiously opened it. What is this? He poured out round white orbs that looked like pearls from the bag. Ellen instructed, remember to eat one every day and don't forget. Baron wondered, is it medicine? Ellen explained, now you are facing two problems. He listed, first, you cannot control your own mana. Next and second, your body is severely weakening and declining. Baron was curious. I haven't said anything yet, but you always seem to see through what's happening to me. Ellen's gaze became serious. Ellen asked Callian, you have the power of blessing, don't you? He acknowledged, yes, that's right. This power gives me the ability to recover and increases my sensitivity to magic. He recalled when his hand was injured. Although it feels like that recovery power has somehow disappeared. He worried, could there be something wrong with my heart? Ellen suggested, you've never... Ellen judged, thought that it's an incredibly strange combination. Ellen explained, the mixture of recovery power and magic. Baron surmised, I thought perhaps the effect of the blessing had strengthened my heart's health, because in the end, the source of both mana and life is from the heart, isn't it? Ellen agreed. That's right. The power of blessing has indeed strengthened your heart's health. Suddenly, Ellen's gaze seemed unusual. But, Your Highness, your power of blessing hasn't disappeared at all, and your heart hasn't been injured in any way. Your mana veins aren't blocked either. He didn't understand. So, what does that mean? Ellen was skeptical. Haven't you ever thought about that? Ellen described. What if Sisfanian's power of blessing didn't disappear at all, but was instead used to its limit somewhere? He was troubled. What affects the power of blessing, making it unable to recover even the smallest wound? Impossible, is it poison? Baron was surprised. Poison? Ellen looked serious. If it weren't for luck, you would be dead already. Ellen analyzed. The deadly poison constricting your heart, the healing power has reached its limit. You still tried to use mana. That's why your heart isn't responding to treatment. Baron quickly thought. Originally, Callian was assassinated, but he was poisoned before I possessed this body. This was definitely a long-planned scheme. He clenched the pill in his hand, bit his lip, showing clear anger. Then why would they try to kill a child who would die sooner or later? Anyway, Ellen observed from afar, noticing something unusual. This matter? He suddenly realized something. This killing intent cannot belong to a 14-year-old child. What is he really? Baron asked him, so this must be the antidote. Ellen replied, that's right. I prepared it in a bit of a hurry, but it will definitely still be effective. Baron took the antidote towards himself. He pondered deeply, then spoke, if. He held the pill high. What if I say I'll use both the antidote and the poison at the same time? Ellen was surprised. Huh? Ellen shouted in alarm. Even if you take the antidote, if you introduce more toxins into your body, the pill will only slow down the onset process. Callian was calm. That's fine, too. Ellen was extremely bewildered. Your Highness, are you really going to drink both? Do you know who the culprit is? Baron had the same thought. I'm also suspicious. He guessed, is the tea I drink every morning the thing that carries the poison? I drink tea in front of everyone, so it's easy to confirm whether I've used poison or not. They don't drink from the same teapot as me either. Perhaps they think this is the safest way. Baron immediately thought, that's right. Perhaps Callian knew what happened to his body. He sounded very grateful and refused to drink the poisoned tea. Perhaps that's why he was assassinated. He carefully considered, the situation has changed since this body became mine. I don't know what methods they will use to try to eliminate me. He planned, until I know the whole story, I must keep this matter a secret. Ellen didn't seem satisfied. Is that the only reason? Baron focused on arranging the details. If it's revealed that there's a problem with the morning tea. He remembered Ian and his background attendants. Then Ian and the other servants will be in danger. The culprit has frequently played this trick. I'm sure he knows very well that those people will take the blame for him. Ellen's expression was weary as he glanced away. He sighed. That brat will be fine. Baron was confused. It's nothing. Ellen concluded, I understand. He wondered, what are you planning to do, sir? Baron recalled, Baron is so foolish. If you want to take something precious from others, you must give first. That sentence seemed to make him understand everything. Only at times like these do I remember you, father. He requested, tomorrow night I hope you will stay outside the palace to protect me. Cut scene to Planche's castle. The servant's announcement, Prince Planche, you must wake up your highness. The large door was flung open. That person's footsteps were getting faster and faster. Amidst the urgent announcement, the queen has... No one could stop her. The attendant tried hard to report, Your Highness, those outside the room are trying hard to stop her. She pays no heed. Get out of the way. Saying that she used her hand to pull aside the bed curtain, Silici reproached. It's too late to prepare for the afternoon schedule now. Don't you see that? Planche with a blurry figure. After the nose billowing under the sunlight as beautiful as a prince. Well, he actually is a prince. She reproached, yet your whole body reeks of alcohol. On the floor were spilled bottles of leftover wine. You were forbidden to drink alcohol during the ceremony in the square, yet you wouldn't sober up. He calmly picked up the water glass on the table and asked back, Why are you here? This handsome fellow holding a water glass is truly charming. He ran his hand through his hair and suggested, After you answer, you can leave. She bit her lip bitterly. She kept complaining. It's clear Callian has an informant. His master is the 7th Circle mage Ellen Manisil. She looked worried. The nobles are being swayed. This face is so perfect. Even the side profile is handsome. He nonchalantly replied, So what? Silici brought her face close to his. Move over, please. You're going a bit too far. She used a frightening gaze. Planche, don't let what I've invested in you go to waste. She warned, prepare for me immediately, saying that she fanned herself, seemingly reminding both her servants and her son, many eyes will be judging you today. Don't disappoint me. After rambling for a while, she finally agreed to leave. Suddenly, he gritted his teeth in anger. This part looks a bit scary, bro. Then he made a loud bang and the fragment split in two. The servant standing beside him was also terrified, hurriedly asking, Your Highness, you're bleeding. Our handsome guy is too scary. Get lost. He shouted loudly, chasing them away. All of you get out of here for me disappear. The name Callion kept echoing in his head, making him angry. The streets everywhere were filled with well-wishers, the atmosphere full of excitement and liveliness. Congratulations to Our Majesty King Romain. Everyone in unison. Happy birthday to you, Your Highness. The surroundings were filled with cheers. May Your Majesty live long and prosper to bring prosperity to Kairos. A child in the crowd exclaimed with delight, Father, over there all the princes have appeared. The father happily replied, I see them. Look carefully, son. The father introduced to his son, the one walking last is the one you wanted to meet most. Baron turned towards the crowd, smiling and waving. Prince Callion. Suddenly Ian called him, Your Highness. He asked with a worried gaze, Is this friendliness okay? Your Highness? He sighed in relief. Fortunately, your complexion is rosier than yesterday. He laughed cheerfully and patted his chest. Of course, I've rested very well. He silently acknowledged, the effect of the pill is undeniable. Perhaps because I took the antidote, my breathing is also easier and my heart pain has also subsided. Ian was angry. Today's schedule is too packed. After the parade, there's a horse riding performance and then a ball too. What if you get another nosebleed? You look a bit overworked. He reassured, Ian, don't worry. He was confident. I still have the strength to meet my subjects. It's all right. He suddenly stopped. In a small dark corner, two strange people were observing. He noticed something unusual. Two people in black hoods with platinum blonde hair. Baron's memories flooded back that bloody scene. Your Highness Baron, pick up your sword and please. One of the two revealed their face. Seeing it, he immediately recognized Kiri. He silently thought, definitely Kiri. He observed them. Even the horse is attracted and curious. But what is Kiri doing in Kairos? Suddenly, Raven changed direction. Ian struggled to control the reins. Wait a minute. Why is it suddenly acting up like this? Keep going. Raven. Baron also tried to command Raven go. He was skeptical. Is it because of that thing over there? His gaze couldn't leave the two of them. He then whispered, Not right, Raven. He patted its head reassuringly. Do you feel it too? But currently, because there are too many subjects, he has no other choice. I can't go there now. The image of that day returned. Wait there, Kiri. I will find you. Cutscene to Paloon Arena. The owner of the arena, Melfier, welcomed the group. Serving you like this is truly my honor, Your Highness. He bowed in salute. We have prepared meticulously for the performance. We guarantee it will please you, Your Highness. He learned more information. So, this is Baron Melfier, the one who prepared the horse-riding performance in place of the Bryson family. He realized, that's why I was dragged into that useless battle of wits. Anyway, I don't care. Baron looked to the future. If I remember correctly, Randall was injured during the horse-riding performance, and Baron Poland was executed. Melfier was affable. This way, please everyone. He enthusiastically introduced, I have prepared special seats for you. He saw the chandelier, that's it. He was sure, that's the chandelier that's about to fall. Baron deduced, how strange. In an event personally attended by the king, how could the knights overlook such a major incident? And there's also Pable's night squad from the Bryson family always on duty. While thinking, he felt bitter. Thinking of Pable's night squad, he remembered that troublesome old general. He remembered his words, I thought you were just a brat. His face was a bit cunning. He hesitated. Should I give him a chance? Melfier still enthusiastically guided, This way, Your Highness. He was eager and concerned. If there's any problem, I will do my best. He whispered, I think the chandelier above our heads isn't very stable. He reminded, Go check it. Melfier watched Callion's back as he turned and left. He looked up at the chandelier he mentioned. feeling a bit confused. Inside the arena, the horse riding performance was incredibly lively. The trained horses created a spectacular show. Melfier clenched his fists. Finally, this day has come. His eyes sparkled like stars, feeling as excited as a child. I have the honor of sitting next to His Majesty. He was joyful, silently exulting. I've prepared very carefully. I can't miss this opportunity. Baron sat behind, observing. He suddenly glanced behind him, looked towards him, and suddenly remembered, above that ceiling, have I checked the ceiling yet? And